us now on the program is the Superintendent of Schools at the Walled Lake Consolidated School District and soon to be the new Deputy Superintendent of Oakland Schools. Kenneth Gutman is back with us once again on the Michigan Megacast. Ken, thank you for being with us today.
Always a pleasure, Tyler. Great to see you.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, on July 1st, you'll begin your new position with Oakland Schools, the local intermediate school district in Oakland County, as their Deputy Superintendent. What made you interested in this position, and what will your duties under this new position be within schools across Oakland County?
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Just a quick correction. I'm still here in Walled Lake until the end of July, so I want to be really clear about that. There's still a lot of work to do here and some transition with our interim superintendent who will be coming in. So I know there's some confusion as to when I'm actually leaving. I'll be here for a while.
Okay.
So what interested me, the opportunity to work with districts across all 28, across Oakland County, all 28 districts across the county. You know, I've spent the last 14 years as a superintendent in 2 school districts, and now to have a chance to influence and lead and provide support for all of those other districts is appealing. Certainly I'll miss Walled Lake. It's been a great experience here, a wonderful 12 years, unbelievable community, supportive education, staff, parents, everyone, students especially. I love the students here. So that I'll miss all of that. Responsibility-wise, it will be to assist the superintendent providing leadership and support across the county. So it'll involve working directly with 28 superintendents. It'll involve overseeing finance, overseeing special education, overseeing a number of other areas that I think are areas that I've had a chance to be a part of over the last, 28, 29, 30 years, including learning services, the teaching and learning aspect of it. And that's a really big piece of what we do. So there's a lot more to the job, but that's kind of just an outline of it.
How have the challenges that you have experienced and those communications, both internally in Walled Lake, but also with your colleagues at the superintendents of other school districts and neighboring areas surrounding Walled Lake over the last 2 years, how have those helped to inform your approach to your new position that will be oncoming with Oakland Schools?
It's a really good question. I've had a chance to mentor and work very closely with a number of superintendents across the county. I've been the veteran superintendent in the county for a long time. And if it weren't for internet filters, I'd probably look about 80. So we've had conversations, and I think honestly throughout the pandemic, probably more conversations than we had before that. But I've had a chance to understand the dynamics that they experience and throughout their districts. There's a lot more for me to learn in my new role. I really want to get into all 28 districts, see what they're doing, and see how I can support others.
We're joined by Ken Gutman. He is the superintendent of Walled Lake Consolidated Schools and will soon be the Deputy Superintendent of Oakland Schools, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. You can learn more about the Walled Lake Consolidated School District at WLCSD.org. Keep up to date on their superintendent search, as well as the transition as Ken exits that job in late July. And so, reflecting on your time at Walled Lake, you've been the superintendent there for over a decade, and you've had a lot of experience there. You've been through a lot, and the school district has been through a lot during that time. Reflect on your time in Walled Lake. You mentioned some of those things that you will cherish from your time with the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, but reflect on some of the accomplishments that you are proud of, both individually, but also with your team across the school district.
Yeah, I don't want to reflect on my own personal accomplishments because there weren't any. The accomplishments were the accomplishments of this team. And this team extends to the parents, the community, our staff, our administrators. Those accomplishments all come down to one thing. Did we do what was best for children in the classroom? And I believe we did, and will continue to long after I'm gone. When the highlight for me on any given week was time I would spend in schools and in classrooms. And when you see what our staff members provide, and you see the support they get from our community, and you see the desire to learn from our students, it's a really special place. And so rather than dwell on individual accomplishments, I'd rather just focus on the fact that when you send your children to Walled Lake schools, they're well served and they get a great education.
What about either this position in Oakland Schools or this point in your career made this job with Oakland Schools the one that made you say, you know, as much as I love Walled Lake, it's time for a new opportunity?
It was a really tough decision, a really tough thought process. I think it's because I've been a superintendent for 14 years. And because we have so many new superintendents across the county, I felt this desire to kind of help out and be there to support them as they experience a challenging time coming out of a pandemic, and knowing that the superintendent job in a normal year is a stressful job. And so there was this compelling drive to help them out, but it was also driven by the fact that the position just became available. And it's the first time in my career I've ever thought about doing something other than being a local superintendent. It became intriguing, and then through my conversations with those at the intermediate school district, it became even more of a draw.
In terms of the intermediate school district, the ISD, what sort of challenges do they face at this time, and have they been facing managing the COVID-19 pandemic and our local schools? Because I would imagine when you are not overseeing but assisting 28 school districts, there are so many different challenges within the basic challenges that all these school districts are facing individually and collectively that still need to be addressed even now, as COVID-19 is maybe not as much of a major issue in our school districts as it's been in the past, but is still something that's very much a consideration.
It is. COVID-19 is I anticipate we'll still be dealing with issues as a result of that. But I think just from an ISD perspective, ISDs across the state have to contend with districts that have disparate needs. So when you're helping 28 school districts, how do you provide the right level and the right exact support that each district needs, knowing that each district has its own specific needs, its own micropolitics, its own different issues? So how do you support those with higher socioeconomic status, lower socioeconomic status, for example, right? I mean, how are you providing students where districts may have experienced learning losses and others not as much? So what are you doing to provide the kind of support each individual district needs? How do you individualize that? And then how do you hold yourselves accountable for that? Because there has to be some accountability and transparency in that work too.
We're joined by Ken Gutman. He is the Walled Lake Consolidated School District Superintendent and soon to be the Deputy Superintendent of Oakland Schools, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. And knowing that Oakland County has such a diverse population, our school districts are all in and of themselves so different and have such different cultures and mixtures of individuals and life experiences within those school districts. Having worked in a school district that is very diverse like Walled Lake, and previously in another very diverse school district like West Bloomfield, how do those experiences and the people that you've interacted with that have those variety of experiences in your career up thus far, how does that help to inform you about some of those needs that you just mentioned with these other school districts that you'll be interacting with and be working closely with as the ISD's Deputy Superintendent?
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Diversity is a great strength of our county across the board. And the experiences I had, as you know, starting off as a teacher and assistant principal in West Bloomfield, I spent 11 years out in Lake Orion, which was a different experience in northern Oakland County. As a principal and an assistant superintendent and a superintendent, and then coming here to Walled Lake, where we're one of the largest districts in the state with tremendous diversity. Each of those experiences help inform me as far as what I need to do moving forward to help others be successful. There's still a lot to learn, and where I'm heading, it's a new role, so I want to do a lot of listening. But I think that the experiences I've had throughout 3 really good districts in Oakland County will help inform my work moving forward.
We're joined by Ken Gutman. He will be the Deputy Superintendent of Oakland Schools beginning in late July, and then will be exiting at that point as well the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, where for 14 years he has served as their Superintendent of Schools. He's joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information for those of you in Walled Lake or with children in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District or employees of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. You can keep up to date on the superintendent search as well as the transition of leadership by visiting their website, WLCSD.org. That's WLCSD.org. We can also follow their social media and keep up to date on each and every step of the superintendent search. Again, one last time, WLCSD.org for more information. Looking at the current state, Ken, that we're in with education and where we're at in terms of dealing with the COVID-19 crisis and the residual effects of that crisis on the education system. In Oakland County specifically and in Oakland Schools, where are we at in a general sense? Is Oakland Schools and is Oakland County in a good place on the education front, and or what sort of challenges do you imagine are going to continue to be amounting as time goes on and need to be addressed at both the ISD level and individual school district level?
I think that Oakland County, among all of the counties, has been really well positioned in terms of the way they handled the pandemic. I mean, the schools themselves, specifically the school districts. The challenge, I really believe, will be the learning loss in pockets across the county. So, for example, here in Walled Lake, we did not experience significant learning loss, but we did experience learning loss with our most vulnerable populations. And that's a challenge across the county, that those who suffered learning loss, how do we make that up, or do we make that up, or how do we handle that? How do we individualize our instruction to make sure we're reaching each and every learner across the county? And really what it comes down to, you know, from a parent perspective is, are you taking care of my children? Are they making progress? Are they advancing? And so for those who were negatively affected by the pandemic, and also negatively affected in terms of their social emotional welfare, right? How do we take care of that as well? So it's social emotional resources, it's instructional resources, it's making sure that individually we're taking care of children.
Another key issue is school security, especially in recent months, especially locally, given the mass shooting, the school shooting at Oxford High School in November of last year, but also with the event of several other school shootings across the country in recent times. How is that being addressed at the ISD level, or what discussions have you as a superintendent had with the ISD about school safety, and how much of a priority is making those adjustments on an ISD level, but also helping these individual school districts with their own individual constraints make those necessary changes that they need for the future and the safety primarily of the students and staff?
Yeah, I don't know that I can comment on what Oakland Schools specifically has planned for that. I haven't started yet, but I am aware that there will be some form of school safety summit coming for all districts in the fall. That's all I know about it, in conjunction with Sheriff Bouchard, and I really look forward to that. From a district perspective, you need to put everything in place that you can. I can tell you here in Walled Lake, we actually have a consultant on site over the last week and going into the fall, who's doing a thorough study, not just of the hard safety and security types of measures we have, but also in terms of safety and security policies. So we're doing a thorough review of that. And there may be some places where you have to harden schools. And I'm not talking about metal detectors. Just before that comes up, Tyler, I'm not talking about that, because there's a whole different conversation to be had there. But we cannot spend a moment thinking about teaching and learning until we make sure everyone's safe. And so we need that, not only that physical sense of safety and security, but that emotional sense of safety and security for our staff and our students.
We're joined by Ken Gutman. He is the Walled Lake Consolidated School District Superintendent, and beginning in late July will be the Deputy Superintendent of Oakland Schools. Joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the Walled Lake Consolidated School District can be found by visiting their website at WLCSD.org, and you can also learn more about Oakland Schools by visiting their website, oakland.k12.mi.us. I'll repeat that one. It's a little more complicated. oakland.k12.mi.us for more information on the Oakland Schools, which is an intermediary school district serving 28 schools in Oakland County. Ken, a couple more minutes before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know, particularly those in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, in regards to the state of the school district at this moment, the transition from your leadership to the next leadership group that will be coming in, or anything else related to your move to Oakland Schools?
Yeah, let me first start by saying I appreciate the opportunity over the last couple of years to meet with you, Tyler. Always willing to come back when I know more about intermediate school districts. I can tell you that this community has always valued education, has served children well, and it's been one of the greatest honors of my life to have served the children in this community. I will also tell you that knowing this Board of Education, they will make a really good choice to hire the very best successor to me. I know that they appointed an interim superintendent who will be coming in beginning August 1st. That's Dr. Michael Lanz, and he'll do a great job as an interim superintendent. And they're committed to doing a full search and to doing it transparently and publicly. And so I applaud our school board for going out and trying to find the best. I know that, as you said, that people can keep up to date with that on our website, wlcsd.org. And there will be a number of public meetings. And I'd encourage those who are curious to take a look and see how this gets done. It's a public process, hiring a superintendent, as it should be. And there will be significant stakeholder input throughout the process.
Ken, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time and information on both the Walled Lake Consolidated School District as you prepare for your exit in late July and on your move to Oakland Schools. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tyler.